So I'm here with Mark Sash, who's the Operations Director here at CloudLogic. So Mark, can you tell me what your responsibilities are?
Sure. Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me in. Yes, my main responsibilities are to oversee the operations of the business, ensuring our team work effectively to give the best possible service to our customers. We do this through collaboration, working using the same systems together throughout the team, communication, regular and informative as possible, continuity, so making sure there's redundancy in the team. So, if anything happens, someone else can pick it up and pick up the slack and move us forwards. Procedural makes our service consistent. If we have procedures for things, then we're all doing things in the same way, and as much autonomy as possible, enabling people to, to get on and do their job, and things to happen more smoothly and more easily.
And what are the most important tools that you and your team use to ensure operational effectiveness?
We use various tools. One of the biggest ones, because we always talk about, communication is really key to a team. So, and going on that word, we use Teams. It's a very useful tool, especially during the pandemic that we've just had, having to to spread out the team and go and work from home. It's been very useful. So you can do that to just voice calls, video calls. You can actually use Teams as a phone system. We found it very useful for status updates, knowing when people are available, when they're in meetings. Even when they're on annual leave, it tells you, it tells you when they're out. Just click of a button and you can see it there. Instant messaging as well, and screen sharing. So if you want to show someone something on your computer, screen sharing is really easy. Again, just at the click of a button. Some of the other tools we use Microsoft 365 SharePoint as well. Instead of just having your on-premise, your server in your office, where you need to be in there to connect and get the files, 365 puts it into SharePoint in the cloud, so that you can access it from anywhere. As long as you've got a laptop or even a mobile phone or a tablet, you can access it anywhere. You can work collaboratively, so real-time updates. You and I could be working on a document together, and as I'm putting in the information, you'd actually be able to see it appearing on your screen from wherever you are. It's very good with permissions, so you can give certain people access to different folders, different SharePoint sites, and access their files individually. You can do that, or by groups, and it does link in very well with Teams. So you can share things directly from Teams, and it links very well together. The other thing that we use is OneDrive, which is they all connect very, very closely together. But if you set up OneDrive to push your desktop files and your My Documents and things that you save locally, it can push that up into the cloud. It also makes those things very easy to share, not only internally with people, but externally as well. So that's another useful thing. There are some other things in 365 that people don't really use or don't really know. So things like Microsoft To Do, it's creating to-do lists, set up reminders and prioritize from it. You can also use things like they've got Microsoft Planner, which is a more of a team planning tool, where you can assign tasks and things to individual people and share and collaborate in that way. But there are lots of other other tools in there which people don't even know about, which are really, really useful.
I speak to a lot of businesses that have the perception that SharePoint and Teams are quite difficult to kind of administer and use on a day-to-day. So what has been your experience, and how have you seen success with those?
Like I said, we've implemented this for a lot of our clients. The initial setup needs to be done by a professional. I wouldn't just recommend just going out and doing it, but once it's actually set up, it allows the general users in the business to create different teams within SharePoint. Within Teams, they can create different teams and groups that they connect to. They make calls to each other, like I said before, at just a click of a button. The screen sharing is really, really useful, and certainly from our point of view, the statuses, making sure that people are either available or knowing that they're not available has been great. And likewise again with SharePoint, we were able to just simply pick up our machines, go and work from home, You can do it on the train if you want to. You can actually set some of those files to be available offline as well. And the sharing of the documents has just been, it's been great, not only for us but for our clients as well. Not having to use things like VPNs, which VPNs are good, but they're not always so reliable. And a lot of the calls and things that we receive are about VPNs not connecting. So we advise those clients to move to SharePoint, and it's been really, really good for them. There are some caveats though to using this, to using SharePoint. People do assume that moving your files to the cloud means that suddenly they're safe. Well, they're not 100% safe. Yes, it's saving it in a different location, but actually we use third parties and recommend using third parties to back up and incrementally back up those files and documents.
Yes, so backing up, a very important subject. So again, a lot of businesses that I've talked to, they think of backup of just being saving their files on a portable hard drive, out of the system. I think that's enough, just in case they get accidentally deleted or they lose the laptop. So is that enough, or is there more that they can be doing?
As a bare minimum, I mean, just copying files to another location is okay, as long as the location is not the same as where the original information is from. So as an absolute bare minimum, we suggest backing up to the cloud, to an offsite somewhere, because if something happens on site, in your office, water damage or fire damage, smoke damage, your data is gone. So as an absolute minimum, we recommend a file copy to a different location. File-based backups are okay, and they're good, as a bare minimum, but they're also, you can, if you need to access that data quickly, it's not always the best option. So we always talk to our customers, and find out how long can you be without that information? How long can you be before that's up and running again? And, if the answer is less than a day, then we would then look at a different solution, maybe full image backups. We use a product, and our clients use a product called Datto, which basically has another box or server on site next to your main server, which it does a full image backup, but it also then every day pushes that up into the cloud as well. And if your server fails for whatever reason, you can run it on this extra bit of hardware that you get from Datto. And if that fails as well, through to smoke or water or whatever damage we've said, you can then actually run it in the cloud. And instead of waiting days or maybe weeks to be back up again, you can actually be back up and running in minutes or hours, which is a must, really. And the third part of it is backing up things like 365 and things in the cloud, because you get things like ransomware, which you've probably heard of, but you also get things like ransom cloud. And ransom cloud basically encrypts all of your email. So if you haven't backed up your email, and it's encrypted in the cloud, you still can't get it back. So we offer and we provide lots of third-party services that will back that up, and also back up things like SharePoint and do incremental backups. So if you realize that something happened 30 days ago, you can go back and get that information.
How long would you say is acceptable to get a business back up and running?
I think that really depends on the business itself. We'd go out and we'd talk to the client, work out what the cost is, what if they were down, how much would that cost them? What's the damage to their reputation? Because that can be a major thing. If customers can't get to the systems that they need, it can actually be a damage to the reputation. So it's anywhere from a few minutes up to it could be a couple of weeks.
Right. So businesses come in all shapes and sizes, with different security needs. And I know, Mark, you support a wide range of clients. So how do you work out what level of security a business should invest in?
I think at any level, we always recommend a multi-layered approach. Multi-layered means that if one security measure fails, then another one will pick that up. For example, we don't only recommend and provide just antivirus on your laptop or desktop. We also have an antivirus product on the email. So when emails coming in, that's scanned for viruses. And then we then do, as we've talked about before, we do backups. We back up data incremental. So, if a virus gets past the email antivirus scanner, hopefully the one, you'd expect the one on the laptop to pick it up. But if that then fails and something happens to your data, you've got a backup so you can always restore and recover back. We do, we also recommend lots of other security layers, firewalls, multi-factor authentication in case your password gets, compromised, web-based filtering, so stopping, going to malicious websites. We also insist on disk encryption so that if you lose your laptop or your desktop, the data on there is safe. It can't be stolen. And also we do things like dark web monitoring as well to see if your passwords and things are on the dark web. So as many layers as possible is best. And I think when planning this with our clients, we do ask them, questions like, how sensitive is the data? How important is it to the running of your business? And then we will also look at productivity versus security. If it's not so, not such sensitive data, then you may want to roll back a little bit on the security so that you can speed up your productivity a bit. But the best way, the advice we always give is as much security as you can to keep yourself safe. Which really, when you don't want it to slow down your operations, and I think that's the same when you're looking at hardware as well. If you scrimp and save on your hardware, that can also slow down your operations and your running.
Yeah, hardware is a really important factor in IT, and I think that often gets overlooked. So what are some of the most important things that organizations should be considering when they choose devices such as laptops and desktops?
The latest hardware is essential. There are exploits in older hardware that viruses, malware, and even hackers can use and exploit. Things like older processors not only lack performance, so will be slower, but there's also security loopholes in there. Windows 11 now is still fairly new, but they say it's the most secure operating system to date, and part of that is due to the fact that you have to be at a certain version of processor, a certain generation of processor to even be able to install it. So it won't work with the older ones that have these security loopholes. There's also older hardware may not have a TPM chip, which is like a trusted platform module, which stores almost the credentials to unlock your computer. So if you don't have that, you have to manually enter a huge long password, which, because it's so long, you end up writing it down on a post-it note and sticking it next to your computer, which is obviously very unsafe. And also now a lot of laptops come with biometric features, things like fingerprint scanners, face recognition, and things like that, which are obviously a lot harder to sort of fake and get into the machine. So yeah, lots of reasons there.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've covered a huge amount there around security, backing up, hardware. So how do you measure the return on investment in these areas?
That really depends. So return on investment for continuity and backup, it's quite hard to measure, that really. So what we do is we sort of look at what the worst could happen, and when they can't work and things like that, and then you'd measure, how much time would that waste if the worst happened? How much would that cost? How much would that cost you as a business? And what would it do to your reputation? And sometimes the costs of that far outweigh the costs of the continuity systems, the backup systems, the security. So it's really a balance between that, and we work with each customer on an individual basis. And really, having good hardware can not only help security but also helps productivity, as we talked about. You may be saving, I don't know, for instance, £200 on buying a cheaper computer, a cheaper laptop, but there's things with it, it won't last as long. You'll need to replace it sooner, so it'll be more regular payments for buying that new hardware. Things like warranties on cheaper machines are never as good We always advise a minimum of, a 3-year warranty with next business day support. So if your machine fails, you've got it fixed the next day. Otherwise, it can be weeks without a machine, which you need to be using to work on. The other thing with it is as well is a slower machine. If it takes you an extra few minutes to log on, log off, do tasks during the day, even just losing 10 minutes a day would add up to 40 hours, a week's worth of work a year. Is that £200 really worth that? So there's lots of things really to consider there when scrimping and not spending what you need to on the hardware.
Okay, so ClearLogic is an outsourced IT provider. So can you tell us what the main benefits are of using a company such as ClearLogic?
Yeah, absolutely. The breadth of knowledge and experience that you get from going to a managed service provider. They've not only have they been doing it years, but there's a huge team there that have got different experiences in different areas. The cost of running an in-house IT to get line 1, line 2, line 3 engineers, an IT manager and an IT director, it's a fraction of the cost to get a managed service provider in than to have all of that, let alone having 20, 30, 40 engineers behind you, whatever it may be, but a breadth of engineers behind you, very experienced in providing strategy for a whole host of different companies, not just thinking about fixing problems as they happen, but preventing them, planning for the future and implementing solutions that will stop problems before they occur. The speed of response, the redundancy in the team. So you're not worrying about people being on holiday or being sick. There's always somebody there to cover. There's always somebody there at the end of the phone. Even when you're sourcing machines and equipment, we've got massive experience in it. We know what to recommend. We know what to go for. So yeah, that's just a few of many reasons why companies do come out and outsource.
Right. Yeah, it's a really important points there. Perfect. So that's the end of my questions. So Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Adam.